Bet you weren't expecting this surprise. Who's coming up with royalty from the random series pick of the week? We got none other than, well, if you go by the original Gash Bell, or if you go by the dub name Zatch Bell, doesn't really matter. Personally, I always stuck with Zatch just because that's what I really got to know him as through the dub. Later, getting into the manga and seeing how that went. A very interesting story because you see the character, it's really a joint kind of main charactership between Zatch and Kyo. But obviously, when we're talking about royalty here, we're talking about Zatch because, spoiler alert, it's been over 10 years. I'm sure anybody who hasn't yet, can gauge the ending of the series at least to the point where you know that the main character is going to win. But Zatch, not only ends up, he ends up becoming the king of the demon world. He ends up fulfilling his goal, becoming a kind king and helping things and helping really everything kind of get out, trying to fix things the best he can. But he doesn't really start out in any way what you would expect, like some real big time winner of some like worldwide tournament. If you haven't touched Zatch Bell, the whole premise of the series is that every 1,000 years, the demons of another world send 100 children over to under the human world. They have to find a partner that can read their spell book, and they can only cast their spells once they end up finding said person. And from that, once they get their spell book, got like pretty much through another person, they're in the game now, and they have to find them. Otherwise, they could get knocked out. Because once their book gets set on fire, it ends up they get sent back to the demon realm. They're disqualified because then their book will go out, and that'll be it for them. So it's also kind of like a game of like protect and destroy at the same time. But Zatch's character, fun enough, is he has that whole battle side to the series, and he's obviously getting a lot of action, a lot of intensive parts. But the whole thing is he's still a little kid. He's like what I can recall, like what 6 years old, 7 years old, and he's caught up in all this, and you still see a lot of the sides to him that are pertaining to that younger kid, youth aspect of who he is. He likes to have fun. He likes to play. He's not the smartest kid, but a lot of that actually though comes from the fact that it's not like, oh, he's a dumb main character. In terms of intelligence, not as a character itself. That's just a very good character because it's more like he's just he's a naive, not really experienced with the world little kid, and he's paired up with this kind of almost sick of with the world genius character, and they really reflect off each other and able to lean on each other in a lot of times, but also learn a lot from each other. Because Zach is, he's just a very kind-hearted, pure-natured kid who really wants to help people. He really wants to get along with others and just enjoy life. He wants to, unfortunately, he wants what is not really coinciding with what is set up for him. Because obviously, as a demon set up in this tournament, he's not really able to live that happy life. Because even though he could say, in this setup, well, I don't want to fight anybody else, that still doesn't change the fact that they're going to want to fight him. And then it really always would come down to, people backstabbing other people. You have former friends having to break the hearts and bonds between each other in order to, try and take this position of king. But Zatch, that should, it really hurt him a lot of the times. It was kind of like part of the aspect of the story is how even though he didn't want this tournament, he didn't really want to participate. He didn't like to hurt people. He knew that he needed to win in order to end the suffering of this and the pain that kind of was caused from the Demon World tournament. And it was just that kind of raw, like straightforward want to help that really kind of like gave Zatch that more shonen feel. You had that big goal in wanting to but climb to the top of some massive characters, but not like I want to be number one for X reason of show proving yourself, having fun, just trying to get that setup of life. He's doing it to help other people. He wanted to be get to that spot so he can create a world for the demon children, not just them, but really everybody, where they can get along, where they can be in peace, where he can do whatever he can in order to maintain happiness across all of them. Because there was a lot of suffering going on. There was a lot of like, bad nature between some of the characters, and they're able to fix a lot of the problems. And seemingly by the end of it, everything kind of really worked out. It has a really sad ending, and it's like a happy sad, but it still bums me out thinking back about it. Also, Zatch just has like one of the coolest crowns. Look at the crown; it's so weird looking, but so unique. But I've always been really like wishing that the author would do some form of follow up. I know there's like a one chapter follow up where Zatch is in it, but I want to see what it was like, during his reign of king. And the sad thing that, when you think about it, is the demons of the series live to be, thousands of years old, but the humans, they live normal like so throughout the story. When you think of like some of the aspects of it, long beyond the life of a lot of the human characters, all of these demons are going to keep living. And I would like to see some of that kind of faced. Like, I want to see it, but at the same time, I know if I saw it, I'd probably get a little teary eyed because it would give nostalgia feelings, but at the same time, it would just have such an emotional weight behind it. What you're seeing, and remembering what the characters went through, and just all of that like round up coming back all at once would be real heavy. But Zatch, I think, is a character. He's definitely one of my favorite main characters. I actually think I forgot to put him on my banner. I gotta update that at some point. Back in a little. But him just throughout the series, you're really getting multiple sides of the guy. It's not like it's not the same as like obviously you get a lot of characters, you get a lot of main characters, and you're gonna understand who they are. But the thing about like Zatch is a very similar to another character I really like, very underrated, Kagyu, Kagyu from Nejimaki Kagyu, because they're both drastically different in like the combat situation to the the more relaxed guy, because you get like a lot of characters, there's obviously like serious stuff's going on, you got to keep focused, and then you see them in a normal daily life, and it's like, oh yeah, they're just they're just pretty much acting like normal people. They're nice, maybe they get into shenanigans or whatnot. But when you get a difference of like Zatch, who when he's in the battlefield, he's in this kind of like very dangerous environment. Everything is extremely like aggressive. There's this whole entire like debacle, as well as of emotions of like, knowing what the characters are going through, knowing what Zatch's goals are. But then like at the end of the day, you see this character who 3 hours ago, or how short amount of time, was in a battle where he had to not only make sure he didn't lose, but also keep his partner from dying from demon spells flying at him. And then it's like, yeah, a couple hours later, he's watching Saturday morning cartoons and playing with some makeshift toy, making robot sounds, and like sugary cereal that's just getting completely hyper or something, little kid stuff. And I think it's that kind of like huge contrast between the seriousness and then that pure-hearted child aspect to him that really makes him feel different than a lot of main characters, in my opinion. And obviously, like, there are characters I like more than Zatch, and I think that he, though, carries on that very just pure-hearted nature without it kind of like feeling like, because there's some character, I know I just really literally in the middle of the sentence kind of like pulled away. I know there's like the whole thing about like pulling out like Goku's whole thing is he's like what pure of heart and all these things, but a lot of the time I feel like he shouldn't really be pure of heart. I mean, some of his decisions like seem kind of selfish, and obviously you can look at that kind of as a but up to perspective interpretation. But I like that Zatch is, when you have a character and it's like, yeah, they're pure heart. His isn't because like, oh, he's a really nice guy. He's he's just an all around genuine fella. It's because Zatch as a child, he has the innocence of literally not knowing things as a little kid, and he's trying to help the world, and both the humans and the demon world, and what he thinks will be the best solution. What he thinks is the outcome that he thinks will benefit everybody, and one of that is ending these horrible tournaments. Obviously, like when you will read them, you're like, man, this is really cool, this is intense. But then you see the more emotional aspects of it. You see what the characters are experiencing, You see just like the pain that they're going through. These are a lot of the things that like kind of like think about to them is it's not just like, oh, there's a bunch of characters battling and fighting. It's across like multiple ages. Like some of the characters, some of the demons, like even though they're supposed to be kids, they're made out to be a lot older. Like what Barry was. Barry looked like he was like in his like early 30s or something, and then like some of the dragon dudes. But Zatch and like a lot of the main cast and a lot of the main like demons are like 6, 7 years old, and you think about like a little kid that young, and you see characters like Naruto was what 12 or 13 when he started. You got like Austin Deku who are like 14, 15, but they're like 6 and 7. Like they're super young and they're going through like world altering things, crazy life or death battles on a daily basis. And you have this main character, and obviously you know the official translations are weird because it's Gash in a lot of the dialogue, but it's Zatch Bell on the cover because of the anime. But you have this character who is looking at the world at trying to feel it from other people's perspective and trying to like sympathize with their pain and help them, but all while being a little kid who at the end of the day he really wants to go home and play and watch cartoons, and then he's got to juggle like the fate of like like his whole world like heavily relying on this tournament and the outcome, and here he is juggling both like a very I keep saying like I'm sorry it keeps juggling like oh my see I did it again. He's juggling this world altering tournament. Whoever wins is literally going to be ruler of another dimension for 1,000 years, and then just him as a happy kid just enjoying life. But other than that, comment below. Tell me what you think about the character. Again, Zatch is one of my favorite main characters, and if you haven't read Zatch Bell, get to it. And you probably, I think most people have watched some episodes of the anime, especially because it was back on Toonami, back when I first found it, in the early days. And then they kept doing reruns, and then they stopped showing it, and then they'd re-show it. And I finally just like I'm gonna read the manga, and then I found out like how much the anime doesn't do in the manga, and then literally the entire last arc they don't do. But good stuff. Definitely a high recommend series of mine. Especially like if you like a lot of action shonens. Check it out. Check it out for sure. Very different. Well, it has like a similar tone, but you see from a different approach. And I think it's just because when you have like Kyo, the main, but one of the two main characters being like this calculated tactical genius guy, but then you have Zatch, who's this pure-hearted child who looks at the world from the eyes of the innocent. Anyway, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video for the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. And I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.